Well, good afternoon, everybody. We are lighting the candle, a world that works. Once again, Bill Carell here, with from the upper left, going clockwise on my screen. We're starting with our buddy at Jan Jeremias, our buddy Ken Caputo, and then down lower left, our buddy at Lisa Sheehan. So here we are. And the first thing I want to mention is number one, this is episode number 99.
Woohoo.
Huh, that's cool.
Yeah, I know. And so the other thing is that yesterday was my birthday. I was not 99.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. So the other thing is that uh, not really having too much time to think about what we would talk about. That's not a new thing. But I'm interested now in probably, especially with this group. And you know that anytime you make a really nice stew, the different ingredients make all the difference. The amount of time that it simmers, the experience that you have from doing it earlier, how many times you've reheated it. I think all of those things go into having a really good and powerful tasting stew. So we may have talked about this before, but I want to represence with this group in this time with what's going on in the world, the whole notion of partnership. Um, Partnership, you know, probably with a layer of leadership, with a layer of, you know, vision for the future, and anything else that you'd like to bring to it. But more than anything, I would like to just examine the whole notion of partnership here today and what some really powerful interpretations might bring to our listeners in terms of what they're seeing, hearing. And the other thing I want to presence is I have been watching a little bit of television, and I've noticed that we're in this cycle of where it's very important to ask a 4 or 5 part question. If a person asking a question of the panel isn't taking at least 30 seconds, there's almost something wrong. Okay. So by the end of it, they have enough things to grab onto. But in this case, what does partnership mean to you?
I'll just grasp at something or just the first thing that came to mind was a sharing of ideals and ideas.
Yes.
We probably should look up the actual definition.
Sounds good. And while we're doing that, what does it seem like it means, Jan?
What I first thought of is, well, what does it mean as far as partnership? Like, are we talking personal partnerships, relationships, or we talk, well, which are relationships anyway, but personally or business? And my first place that I went is, could you partner with yourself? Like the idea of partnering with yourself on something. I think we go through life and we kind of, a lot of times, don't partner with ourselves.
Please say some more. I think that's an interesting thing to share.
That we don't partner with ourselves. We either don't follow our intuition, or we are so focused on what everybody else is saying we should do versus actually partnering with ourselves upon what we feel we should be doing.
It's a very interesting thing. I went out to dinner last night at our local sushi bar, Asian Bistro, and there was a young man that was sitting there, and he, confided in me that he spent the last 5 years really going nowhere. And I asked him, I says, well, what does that mean to you? He says, I haven't been able to find myself. And I don't know how old he is. I'm going to guess right around 30 years old, say. But finding ourselves was something we used to do back in the 60s. I don't know anybody that had a lot of success at it, but it usually was an experience driven decision to go out and do things intentionally that you knew were not all that good for your future, so that you could decide that that wasn't it, you know? And I just recall this whole notion of what you're saying right now. It has a really cool Zen aspect to it. in that if you could stand next to yourself and throw your shoulder over who you are with that other self, in what ways are the talents that you have not in service to the goals or the objectives or the actions that you're currently taking right now? That kind of partnership with yourself, and I love the word self because most of us, when we start out with a lowercase, not a proper noun self, and with a little bit of skin knees and experience and a lifetime of doing things well and not doing things so well and learning from it, we start to build a stronger S, till it becomes a capital at some point in the future. And one of my teachers, when using this model or this metaphor, would say that the stronger your S is. I love the way she said it too. The stronger your S is, the more unmessable you are. So partnering with yourself is an ideal a place to begin. Lisa, did you find a textbook definition?
We
I
might as well
wrote a
define.
definition down.
We might as well define it ourselves for how descriptive it is.
Sure. Go ahead, Ken. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I like made up my own definition
Oh, good.
Well,
and wrote it down. So I don't know what
we never do that on this
the
show.
Google says, but so mine was more than one, bringing unique contributions together to produce a result greater than what could be accomplished alone.
Oh, very nice. It's
I
Merriam
use
Webster.
more than one specifically because it doesn't necessarily have to be like two human beings.
Right.
Partnership can be with anything, can be with any sentient being, the earth, whatever.
Turns out it can be with yourself too, as we've
Yeah,
already
well, we're definitely more than one. At least I am.
Merriam-Webster, the number one definition is the state of being a partner.
Now, see,
That's
there's
boring.
I know.
there's absolutely no way to misinterpret that.
No. Well, yeah, right. In
Yeah,
a legal
so-
action,
Go ahead.
the legal action existing between two or more persons, the persons joined together in a partnership. I mean, it really is a relationship resembling a legal partnership and usually involving close cooperation between parties having specified and joint rights and responsibilities.
It also implies an agreement to be in it.
Mm-hmm.
You may find yourself accidentally in a partnership, and it will become a partnership the moment that you acknowledge that that's what it is. That's that what causes something to spring into being. It's when it's being acknowledged in the presence, in the speaking, in the listening. So, kind of a neat thing. You think about partner. It could be on the dance floor. It could be flying a kite. It could be having a spelling bee. It could be playing bridge. Your mind can just keep going here. Where else do we create partners?
I think there's partnerships all around us if you're paying attention. I mean, it feels like that's been a theme for me anyway. The love is there. It's just the noticing of it. And it's interesting because how often right now, if you just think on the human level, there are probably people that you are in partnership that you'll never meet or even have any interaction with. So but we would do like a meditation where you eat an orange and you start with the sunlight and all the things, all the partnerships that had to have been created, all the contributions that brought that orange to you in that moment so that you could consume it, and there's partnerships with orange growers and, the natural order of creating it and who shipped it and people that developed money that allowed you to purchase it instead of having to trade for all that stuff. It's an interesting practice.
It does seem to imply a little bit of being awake, and not necessarily an accident. Although, and it can be as a result of an accident or in the commission of an accident or the experiencing of an accident. The kind of neat thing, the kind of neat thing, I'm getting a telephone call, probably from a family member wishing me happy birthday one day late. So the partnership agreement that I wrote with my first corporate partner at Progressive Data Systems on of all dates, March 17th, 1990, St. Patrick's Day, and it actually was a partnership agreement. And in that agreement, it actually spelled out in no uncertain terms what our obligations were, what our rights were, the legal aspects of forming a sub S corporation. So I think it's a little more rare to have that experience of sitting down and designing a partnership from that aspect, where it's a legal document that kind of holds our futures in alignment and also bound inextricably without another legal document to end that relationship and the promises that we make to each other. So, in terms of a partnership at a group level, we don't have to go to community or the world or any of that stuff yet. Are there any kind of unspoken rules of the road?
I can give you an example.
Sure.
It's so we have, through the martial arts school, we have a leadership program that basically allows participants to move up through a process of all the way up to employment, if they want, which to me is a great form of partnership. You've got the partnership between, the business, the owners of the business, and the people, the team that helps that business continue to provide its service. So we have a three-part process, and it's cultivation, contribution, collaboration. So they start first in cultivation, which is learning to be skillful for themselves. So developing internal and external leadership skills and applying them in their own life until they're ready to make a contribution, which would be helping other people learn to apply those things in their lives. So we start with personal cultivation, then it goes into basically giving that away to the benefit of others skillfully. And then the third part would be collaboration, and that would be when we hire them. So now we kind of formalize the relationship and establish guidelines and boundaries for how we're going to produce a specific result, which is helping people live their best lives, be their best selves, and do their best work through the martial arts. So the agreement is cultivate for yourself, become a skillful contributor, and then understand how to collaborate appropriately and effectively.
So, Lisa, what do you got?
Oh, that's a lot. I mean that's good. I like what Ken said. I also like what Jan said too regarding. I mean, we're partnering all the time, like every moment of even at night in our dream world. But you're partnering with life itself every moment. So what that brings to you is is you know is creating your own reality. So to take responsibility for that in every moment, and then where you could get to the point where you could be part of Ken's building of collaboration and partnership.
So I'm listening to the what's not being talked about, the partnership that most people don't feel. Have you ever heard anybody complaining about how alone they are in the world when there's hundreds of people around them?
Hmm.
That